It happens when you're alone, late at night, phone in your hand, mind restless, heart numb. You tell yourself it's lust, that you just need a release, that it's normal. Everyone does it. Just one more scroll, one more fantasy, one more body to imagine. But if you were honest with yourself, really honest, you'd feel it too. The emptiness, not just after, but during. Even while you're chasing it, you think it's desire, but it's not. It's hunger for something deeper than skin. It's grief for something you can't even name. Carl Jung understood this long before modern psychology dared to speak about it. He said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And lust, this constant grasping, craving, consuming, is not about pleasure. It's about escape. From boredom, from pain, from loneliness, from the aching silence inside your own heart. You tell yourself you want her, but what you really want is to feel alive, to feel held, to feel seen, to feel something, anything, beneath the surface of this empty, performative life. But instead of turning inward, you chase the body, you chase the image, you chase the surge of dopamine that disappears just as fast as it came. And the moment it's over, you're left with the same void, the same silence, the same self, untouched. You see, lust isn't the enemy. It's the symptom. It's your soul trying to get your attention. Because beneath that craving is something much deeper. Disconnection. You're not connected to your body. You're not connected to your purpose. You're not connected to your emotions. You're not connected to you. So you reach for the easiest substitute, the illusion of closeness, the illusion of control, the illusion of being wanted. But Jung would say, this is the shadow in action, the part of you that was never loved in the right way, now searches for love in the wrong ways. And it's not just about sex. It's about all the ways you run. The compulsive texting, the porn at 2 a.m., the meaningless conversations that feel almost intimate, the constant mental replay of someone who made you feel desired once. But what you're really doing is avoiding the loneliness that lives under your skin. Because to sit with it, to really feel it, is to admit that you don't just want release. You want rescue from your own isolation, from your own numbness, from your own buried needs that you were never allowed to have. Jung saw this in the patients who came to him not with sexual issues, but with spiritual hunger disguised as desire. He didn't moralize. He didn't judge. He went deeper. Because he knew the real question wasn't, why do I feel lust? But rather, what is this lust trying to distract me from? And that is the question you have to ask yourself now. Because if you don't, you will keep feeding the craving, but never touch the wound. You will keep chasing bodies, but never feel intimacy. You will keep fantasizing, but never feel seen. You will keep finishing, but never feel whole. So here's the truth. No one tells you. You don't need more pleasure. You need more presence. You don't need another body. You need to come back into your own. Because the part of you that keeps reaching outward is the part of you that was never met inward. And that's what Carl Jung's Red Book was really about. Not sex, not power, not control, but integration. The reunion of all your lost pieces, the return to the self, the courage to look at your own emptiness and not run from it. So before you open another app, before you send another text, before you let your craving lead you, ask yourself, is this lust or is this loneliness in disguise? And if you finally stopped escaping, what would you find waiting inside you? Carl Jung never saw lust as just a physical impulse. To him, it was a spiritual signal, a coded message from the unconscious, a warning that the soul had been starved for too long. Because when you haven't faced your inner world, desire doesn't come from wholeness. It comes from fragmentation. You don't lust because you're bad. You lust because you're divided. Jung wrote in the Red Book, I must learn that the dregs of my thought, my dreams, are the speech of my soul. So when lust shows up, suddenly, urgently, irrationally, Jung would say, it's not about the person you're thinking of. It's about the part of you you've lost contact with. Here's what he meant. In Jungian psychology, the inner feminine in men is called the anima. And when this anima is unconscious, you don't know how to feel. You don't know how to surrender. You don't know how to love without attaching. So your soul reaches out the only way it knows how, through projection. You place your lost tenderness, your vulnerability, your inner light onto her. Not because she is all those things, but because she reminds you of the part of yourself you can't access anymore. So when you lust after her, her body, her presence, her softness, you're not actually craving sex. You're craving reunion with your lost soul. This is why it hurts. Because no matter how many times you chase it, you never reach it. You can't. Because you're chasing yourself in someone else's body. And the more disconnected you are from your anima, the more violent, desperate, and emptier your lust becomes. You scroll endlessly. You fantasize about people you barely know. You replay images that made you feel something, anything. And yet, every time it ends, you feel more distant from yourself than before. Jung said, this is how the shadow seduces you, not with evil, but with illusion. You don't see a person. You see your unmet needs, your suppressed pain, your forgotten warmth. And because you never integrated these parts within, you try to possess them outside. But lust, when it's disconnected from love, always collapses. Because no one can carry the weight of your unlived emotions. No body can complete your broken identity. No moment of pleasure can heal a soul that hasn't been felt. So what happens next? You start needing more stimulation, more novelty, more intensity. Because now, your soul isn't just craving, it's starving. And you think the answer is in more content, more experiences, more people. But all you're really doing is running faster in a maze that leads right back to your emptiness. Carl Jung believed that to break the cycle, you must stop asking, who turns me on? And start asking, what part of me have I turned off? Because when you reconnect with your emotions, your dreams, your intuition, your longing, lust transforms. It becomes sacred. It becomes creative. It becomes a bridge, not a trap. Jung called this integration, bringing back the parts of you that were cast into the unconscious. And lust? That's the fire of your soul, trying to get your attention, not to shame you, not to scare you, but to show you how far you've drifted from yourself. You don't just want someone to touch your body. You want someone to witness your being. You don't just want release. You want relief from the ache of being unseen, untouched, unheld, even by yourself. So here's the hardest truth Jung offers. Until you face your soul, your desire will always be misdirected. You'll keep chasing shadows. You'll keep calling it love. You'll keep falling into arms that don't feel like home. Because the home you seek is the part of you stopped visiting long ago. So the next time you feel the wave of lust rise in you, pause. Don't repress it. Don't act on it blindly. Just ask it, what are you trying to show me about myself? Because once you learn how to feel the energy without losing yourself in it, you don't become cold, you become clear. And in that clarity, you can finally choose something deeper than the craving. You can choose connection, not escape, not performance, not fantasy, but presence. And from that presence comes the kind of love lust could never give you. You keep telling yourself it's harmless, a release, a phase, a need. But slowly, it starts to reshape you. Not in one big moment, but in tiny, invisible fractures. You stop feeling your emotions fully. You stop seeing people as whole. You start mistaking attention for love and stimulation for intimacy. This is what Carl Jung feared most. Because lust, when disconnected from the soul, doesn't just distort how you see others. It breaks how you see yourself. At first, it's small. You stop making eye contact. You avoid deep conversations. You retreat into fantasies that feel safer than reality. You smile in public, but feel numb inside. Then it gets worse. You lose motivation, not just sexually, but in life. You stop writing. You stop building. You stop creating. Because lust, when indulged mindlessly, consumes the same fire meant to fuel your purpose. It becomes your shortcut to aliveness. But the cost is your soul. Jung believed that every time you feed a craving without consciousness, you strengthen the complex behind it. A psychological loop. Trigger reaction. Relief. Guilt. Repeat. And the more you repeat it, the more you believe that this is just who you are. But it's not who you are. It's who you became after you stopped feeling shame in your own skin. You weren't born addicted to bodies. You were born craving connection. You wanted warmth, not friction. Love, not lust. Presence, not performance. But when life didn't give you those things, you turned to fantasy. Because in fantasy, you control the narrative. You're wanted. You're powerful. You're never rejected. But here's the cost. You stop showing up for the real world. You lose the ability to sit in awkward silence, to endure longing, to build something with someone, to fail in front of love and try again anyway. Because lust teaches you escape. Not courage, not patience, not resilience. And so you get stuck. You keep chasing highs, that never touch your heart. You keep looking for women who make you feel something, just enough to distract you from how disconnected you are. And maybe worst of all, you start to resent yourself. You tell yourself you're weak, that you're broken, that you'll never find real love. But Jung would say, it's not brokenness. It's disconnection from the inner feminine, from the soul's ability to nurture, to hold, to feel. You have fire, but no warmth. You have desire, but no devotion. And without integration, lust becomes violence. Not outwardly, but inwardly. You betray your own values. You promise yourself, never again, only to fall back into the same loop the next night. And over time, your mind becomes scattered, your heart becomes calloused, your dreams become dry, because nothing that once made you feel alive can compete with the intensity you've wired into your system. The high is short, the aftermath is long, and the worst part, you start needing more and feeling less. Jung called this psychic possession, when a complex hijacks your willpower. When you no longer act, you are acted through. And in this case, it's not you who's chasing lust. It's your shadow, your loneliness, your unloved inner child, searching for someone to hold him in the only way he's ever known. So the cycle repeats. Relationships fall apart. You sabotage connection. You can't sit with discomfort, so you swipe. You can't deal with silence, so you scroll. You can't face yourself, so you chase someone else's body. But what you never realize, until it's too late, is that lust doesn't just keep you from love. It keeps you from becoming you. It robs you of creative energy, of attention span, of soul depth, of spiritual clarity. And the longer it goes on, the more you start to wonder, why don't I feel anything anymore? That's the consequence. Not shame, not hell, not punishment, but numbness. And Jung would argue, that is worse than pain. Because when you're numb, you stop evolving. You stop listening. You stop hearing the voice inside you that says, this isn't who I came here to be. You don't need to hate yourself to heal. You don't need to repress desire. You just need to ask one question. What is this craving trying to teach me about me? Carl Jung never told you to kill the fire. He told you to understand it. Because the fire of lust, when ignored, becomes addiction. But when faced, it becomes transformation. And that journey doesn't start by closing your eyes. It starts by finally opening them. No more lying, no more blaming, no more saying, this is just how I am. You're not broken. You're just lost. And you've used lust to avoid the map. But the mate was never outside of you. It was never in her body, never in that video, never in the next message, the next app, the next escape. The map was always your soul. So how do you begin? Step 1. Stay. Not with her, not with them, with you. Stay in your body. Stay with the ache. Stay through the craving without feeding it. At first, it will feel impossible. You'll shake. You'll scroll. You'll itch for escape. But if you breathe through it, just one moment longer than you usually do, you'll hear something new. Silence. Not the numb kind, the sacred kind. And in that silence, a voice will whisper, I miss you. It's the part of you you left behind, The boy who learned to earn love through performance. The soul who mistook touch for truth. The man who forgot that his craving was not evil, just unmet. Jung believed that you don't kill your shadow. You integrate it. You sit with it. You learn from it. You bring it back into the light. So what does that look like? You start writing again, not just to express, but to feel. You create, not to impress, but to release. You sit in nature. You let yourself cry. You breathe into your chest and ask, what do I actually want right now? And you listen. Not just once, every day. Because healing lust isn't a one-time fix. It's a daily relationship with your own soul. And over time, the cravings lose their grip, not because they disappear, but because you no longer fear them. You welcome the heat. You thank the desire. You hear what it's really saying. I want love. I want beauty. I want meaning. I want me. You don't need to shame yourself anymore. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to come home. Because when you reclaim your anima, your inner feminine, you don't chase it outside. You live it. You feel your emotions. You honor your softness. You become magnetic because you're finally whole. And then, when someone does come along, you don't need to possess them. You don't need to be rescued. You don't need them to complete the parts of you abandoned, because you already did that. In silence, in darkness, in the sacred place lust could never reach, but your soul always could. So, if this hits something inside you, then you've already begun the journey back. Sit with it. Listen again. And tell me in the comments, what have you really been craving all along? Like, subscribe, and drop a super thanks if this spoke to your shadow. It helps keep Psychatic alive. And remember, you were never addicted to her. You were addicted to the feeling of being whole. Now give that back to yourself.